Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids.
Hospital Porters Pride and Dignity Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 126th reply to comments video, the 126th video in which I reply to your comments. Now, I make these videos because I don't have time to reply to everyone by text, and I feel obliged to reply. I get a lot of comments on my popular channel. Some of the comments are very long, and they ask me direct questions or have direct feedback and addressing me personally. Therefore, I feel it's rude not to reply. And since I don't have time by text, this is how I choose to do it. You might say, this is a bad method, Ben, because I don't want to watch a 9-hour video to get a reply to just one comment I posted. Well, you don't have to for two reasons. Firstly, there's a timestamp under the comment I'm replying to you, which will round it off to the nearest hour. That's all you've got to watch, maximum 1 hour. Also, my reply to comments videos are not 9 hours anymore. They're much shorter because I do them more often. In fact, this one might be extra. It's probably going to be extra short, actually, for reasons I'll explain. I also enjoy doing these particular reply to comments videos, and I think that some of them are some of my best videos, and you, the viewers, enjoy watching them. I know some of you watch them all the way through. It's also about preserving a precious philosophical dialogue. Stefan Molyneux actually made this point when he got banned off YouTube. he had his videos backed up, but he lost all the comments. Luckily, I think they were preserved when he was actually reinstated a few years later. They actually did come back. But he said, you need to do something to preserve these comments. These videos preserve the comments should any of my videos or anything disappear, which is possible, isn't it? Definitely. And also, by the way, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there is a show transcript function, which actually will also helps you find what you're looking for. Just click Control F. You can use then the search function to find your username or another word which relates to the particular comment we're talking about here. Right, hope you all had a happy Easter, I should point out. This is the YouTube version of this particular reply to comments video. There is an Alt Tech annex, which if you're watching this on Alt Tech, you'll be able to find on the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you won't see it because it's not going to be uploaded there. You need to go to Alt Tech, subscribe to me there. But you Odyssey Rumble, several other places, please do go and check those places out. So yeah, happy Easter to everyone. I hope you all had a good time. This is Easter Monday when I'm recording this. Now, you may have noticed when I started the video and I put my hands up and I went like that, my hand disappeared. And indeed, when I do that, my hands disappeared. That's because I'm not using the green screen today. I'm sorry about that. I can't find the little extension poles I was using. They're actually from a tent, which I put down somewhere. I can't find them now. I'll get hold of some replacements when I do another video, like a live stream or something. So I hope you'll bear with me and just stick with me while we go back to the bad old days of the pre-green screen version. Okay, just to let you know. Now, this video is going to be slightly different to the usual reply to comments videos for several reasons. The first reason is that I'm doing it sooner than I otherwise would, because the last one I uploaded, I think it was the 19th or 20th of last month. It's now just the 6th. It's Easter Monday on 2026. So it's less time than I would normally leave before the next reply to comments video. But the reason I'm doing it now is because I want to clear the decks for action, because I've got a feeling the next week is going to be very busy. In fact, I know it is. Firstly, because I'm going to have to do something else about Artemis 2. It's quite likely I'll have to do some kind of live stream in the next few days about Artemis 2. Depends how things go. As I'm actually saying these words, Artemis 2 is currently in the halfway through its mission, which means it's currently circling. It's actually circling the moon. It's going into not an orbit, but it's going into its passage around the moon, where it turns around and comes back, the free return trajectory, allegedly. It could be if that is actually Artemis 2. I mean, this is something I'm going to cover on a future video. So that's one reason. Another is because I'm going to be away for 4 days soon. I'm going to Weird Weekend North. There may not be a video reportage for that. I'm thinking of maybe doing an audio one instead, which will go on HPANWO Radio. I hope you don't mind. But that's kind of what I'm planning. I'm hoping for, maybe. It'll be the same basic thing. It'll still be covered. It'll just be audio only. So it'll be like a roamcast, as Niall Murphy calls it. Another reason is for this particular reply to comments is, for the first time ever, I'm actually specifically not going to reply to certain comments on this video. All right, this is not doesn't mean I'm never going to reply to them, although some people are going to claim that's what's going to happen. It means I don't want to reply to them at this juncture, and the reason is it's because of the comments I won't be replying to are those related to Artemis 2 from a certain perspective. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because I've had a look through some of the comment sections. I had a look through the comment section already, and I must admit that it's a bit dismaying. The comment section is actually pretty. The NASA supporters of Artemis 2 have been extremely vocal and have left a large amount of material for me to address. So much to the point that I think they, if I address them, it'll essentially monopolize this entire video, and it'll prevent, I think, other comments getting the airing that they deserve. This will essentially become a reply to Apollo believers video rather than a reply to comments videos. Now, I know how this is going to be portrayed. When I come across these comments and the threads associated with them, I will not be replying to them in this video. And I know very well these people, because they've already been very belligerent. They've already been very provocative. They've already been, and I did take the bait with Steve Mumbling the other day, and I shouldn't have. I won't make that mistake again. But they are projecting a lot of their own anxieties and a lot of their own anger onto us. And they're trying to make out that we are the ones now suffering from some kind of Artemis derangement syndrome, when I've explained several times that's not the case. Now, I agree that the live stream I did on the Artemis launch was inadequate. It fell short of what it should have been. The reason was because it was very late at night, and I was feeling pretty ill. In fact, I had to cancel the HPANWO show the following day. And I did say I would come back to it, and I will. And I'm not going to let these people get away with pretending, which they're going to do, that the reason I'm not replying to their comments on this particular video is because I can't. I've got no answer for them, and therefore I'm just trying to censor them and delete their comments and saying not replying to them, because I've got no reply to them because I've been proved wrong. They're going to portray that, but I will demonstrate to you exactly why that's not the case. All right, I'm actually working on a video, which I will do sometime next week when I get back. This will be after when Artemis 2 returns to Earth, which we all, of course, hope it does safely, which I think is going to be on Saturday when I'm away. It's going to splash down in the Pacific and be rescued. I will be returning to do an Artemis debrief, and I will address those comments, the ones I'm not replying to in this video, on those videos. And I will show you, I'll prove it to you. When it happens, I will prove it to you. And so every time someone says, oh, Ben can't answer our questions and he's just ignoring them, I'll be able to demonstrate to you that's not the case. I know you will pretend to ignore the proof I'm showing you, but I will endeavor to anyone who's reasonable. Actually, I will actually show you exactly what I'm doing. Okay. So we begin with reply to comments 125 and Professor Emlyn-Jones, who says, first, deep joy. Great stuff. You're up in the heavenly bowls there, Professor Emlyn-Jones. And Rhiannon says, see, he can speak normal when he gets distracted by glory. Rhiannon, deep joy is an Unwinese term. It is. Neil Peel, the Paranormal Peep Show, says second. Well done. Well done, Neil. How am I doing? The recording going all right? Yes, it is. That's good. That's good. That's good. And we have the bronze medal going to Red Ibex. So just for once, Red Ibex actually is getting a bronze. He normally gets the gold. And It's Lewis says fourth. All right. And 6EQ J5, that's the wow signal, says fifth. Oh my goodness me. There's no medal for fourth or fifth place, guys, but you get a mention in dispatches. There you go. Sixth. Oh my god. It's Cat of Joy. Sixth. What do you do, Ben, when you're sixth? I mean, Cat of Joy will ask lots of questions later, I'm sure. Seventh, says DJ B2. Is there an eighth here? Is there an eighth somewhere? No, it's not. We now move on to Disclosure Day 3rd. Disclosure Day 3rd trailer live stream. And Bluebeam says here, there are 3 movie versions of Three Body Problem. The newest anime version depicted the wall facer even more insane, but it really makes me want to read the books. Waiting to see how it's being shown. They're actually, because the other versions weren't as good, I think. And Bluebeam continues here. Maybe I've had in the first book at the trailer, the first look at the trailer, the association with Miles coming up for me as well. Right, yeah. I've seen a few episodes of the Chinese version. They're the only free ones that are available on Amazon, because they're charging like 16 quid an episode. It's only 45 minutes. It's ridiculous. So I just watched the freebies, which are about a quarter of the episodes are free. And I've watched the Netflix one, of course, as I explained, and I explained in detail what I thought of that. But you reckon that guy looked like Miles too, that character? The leader of the not the Earth Trisolarans, the anti-Earth Trisolarans. I can't remember what they're called, but he looked like Miles. He does look and act and sound like Miles. I know he's like a Dubliner and Miles is an Ulsterman, but it's just his tone, his look, his demeanor was just like Miles. I think these people have had the people researching this, the writers, the production designers. They've been studying the conspiracy. We'll see. We'll see if my equivalent turns up. I hope not. Bloody hell, but they could. They model one of them on me, one of the characters on me. They could. I mean, they can do what they like, because they can do whatever they like, because basically they've invented these characters. This is an adaptation in which all this entire cast is basically non-existent in the what's the word? Is non-existent in the TV series. Right, we've got our first comment by Over the Moon, and it is his usual subject. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to actually show you what I'm doing, so no one can pretend afterwards that I didn't do it. Okay, this is Over the Moon's comment here. It's on reply to comments 125. I'm going to cut and paste it. Right, now come here. If you care to accompany, I've just cut that. Oh, so I've just copied it. And I'll show you the folder I have. Right, this is the folder for HPANWO TV Videos 2026. I actually have here, you see I've already highlighted it, a folder here called Artemis Future Vid, because this is the video that Over the Moon is going to claim, and his compatriots, his compadres, are going to claim that I will never make. Well, here you can see it here. I've got the folder already, and there it is. And I've already got notes here. Artemis 2 comments. Right. So let's open this word. Let us open this word file, shall we? And now I'm going to reply. I'll actually use unformatted text. I'm now cutting and pasting Over the Moon's comment into my notes here. Okay, these are notes for the upcoming video. So don't you dare try to tell me I'm never going to reply to you. All right, because I am. But I'm not replying to you right now. I'll put a timestamp here, but no, I'm not going to reply to you in this video for reasons that I've explained. Oops. It helps if you go back and you actually. It helps if you go back, Ben, and you actually put the timestamp on your clipboard. Right, there we go. So I'll put a timestamp as a reply, but I'm not actually giving them a full reply here. And we have Steve mumbling on reply to comments 125, who says here, you still didn't tell us whom you confused McCandlish with. Who shot himself twice in the back of the head? If you can't provide a name, it's obvious you didn't confuse McCandlish with anyone at all. You just told your audience McCandlish shot himself in the back of the head twice, purely for effect. A complete fabrication designed to inject some intrigue where there was none. That alone should tell you there's nothing to McCandlish's ARV. An apology doesn't cut the mustard. Just come clean and admit it's a complete fabrication to enhance a bullshit science fiction story. Right. Oh dear. Glasses off time. You know what that means. This is predictable, and it is something I've seen before. Okay, like as I said, if you do something wrong and you admit you've done something wrong, it could be through malice, or it could be through just some other reason. It could be carelessness, it could be thoughtlessness, it could be just selfishness, and you just cut a corner or something. Okay, and then you apologize unconditionally. You don't double down. You don't give any bullshit non-apologies or anything like that, as Molyneux calls them. You just say, I did something wrong and I'm sorry, I made a mistake. In this case, I learned of I confused Mark McCandlish's death with somebody else. Right now, there's two issues here. Firstly, if someone drags it on, you've got to ask yourself why. Now, as another perfect example, I've just literally had an email from someone talking about this. Right. Somebody actually wrote to me and just said, is Mark Christopher Lee all right? And Mark Christopher Lee, as you probably know, made a prediction about disclosure which didn't come true. He realized that the basis for this assertion was actually wrong and he shouldn't have made it. He did what I think is a very brave and manly thing. He just apologized. A lot of people just double down. They just blame other people. They say, "Oh no, it's someone, it's a source I can't name," or something like that. They change their story. They start attacking people who question them and things like that. Mark didn't do that. And I got very, very distressed and quite angry with Patrick from Vetted, actually, because he wanted to drag it on. He wanted to drag it on and made another video slagging off Mark. And I actually tweeted at him, and I also copied the tweet to YouTube, and I put it in his YouTube channel, on his YouTube page as well, saying, look, Mark has apologized. Hasn't Mark? I think Mark has apologized enough now. Could we please move on? And this is what I'm saying. And when people, if someone does this and they apologize, and then the person, their interlocutor, their interrogator, their opponent, doesn't want to move on and just wants to keep going on and on and on about it, they don't accept the apology, however sincere, professional, and unconditional it might be, they just, no, we're not going to accept your apology, and we're going to continue to blame you and attack you over this. All right, even especially, and again, and they blow it out of proportion. They try to make out that one little slip of the tongue or one little thought that went wrong in your head, right, is some major crime. You're like a serial killer now, and you are doomed forever. You are cursed. Right, that is a sign of someone who is dishonest. What's more, so it's interesting what Steve says here, because he actually says here, he then says, it's a complete fabrication. Okay. And you just admit it was a complete fabrication, right? You still didn't tell us who you confused Mark McCallish with. Well, that's because I told you I can't remember. And you say, no, it's obvious you didn't confuse Mark McCallish with anyone at all. You just told your audience, etc., to inject some intrigue. Okay, so now what you're doing now, Steve, is you're second guessing me on my internal mental landscape. This has happened before. It's happened before. And I know when it happened as well. I know exactly when it happened, and I know for what situation. Now, you know about these hate cults that suddenly emerged. There was one about Larry Warren, which I've spoken about in great detail. Well, there was another one a couple of years earlier centered around a chap called Darren Perks. He also was the focus of a cult-like movement of hatred against him. Now, unlike Larry, I don't know specifically whether Darren was innocent or guilty. I know Larry was innocent. The point was that when I was actually on a radio station with Darren. We were doing 2 shows on a radio station, and these people started attacking me. I almost fell out over this, because he was one of the ringleaders. And he came, because I said to him, look, you've misjudged me over this. And because what he said was, I explained why I was doing this show on Planet X Radio in Liverpool. This was a real radio as well. It actually went out on the air. It was syndicated to a good old-fashioned terrestrial station. It was really, really good. And I enjoyed doing the show. And I was working with a good team of people, which included AM, David Icke's friend, and we were very much, and we interviewed some great people, and we really wanted to do a good show. That's what we did. Now, Darren Perks was one of the other hosts, and Tony Topping was one as well. There was about, and I was attacked because I was on that station with Darren Perks, and I tried to explain my position, and I said to this person that they'd misjudged me, and he came back with, "I don't believe I've misjudged you, Ben. I don't believe I've misjudged you." And I thought, so what this person was saying was the same thing that Steve Mumbling was saying. This person was saying that they know more about my internal mental landscape than I do. They know more about my internal mental landscape than I do. Now, how do you know more, Steve? And I'd say that to the person. I'm going to edit out their name. I'd say that to this person, and how do you know more? And what's more, how do I falsify your hypothesis? How do I then prove you wrong? And the answer is I can't. I can't prove you wrong, because all I can do is tell you what's really going through my head, and you'll then second guess me and say, no, it's not. If you're going to continue to do that, then I'm afraid the conversation is over. Because if you're going to, if the point is you know more about what's going on in my head than I do, that you know that I actually didn't confuse someone and I just made it up, okay, with Mark McCandlish, and I say I didn't, and you say yes, you did. Well, firstly, that's an unfalsifiable hypothesis. As a skeptic, you should know that's a fallacy. Secondly, it's a conversation that will just go in. It's stuck in an eternal. It's stuck in an internal loop of false logic. So there's literally no point going on, and it leads, and also it leads me to think that if you're doing this, you're not actually trying to make a point. It's just some hot needle you're trying to stick me with. And indeed, I think there's other examples of this from several people commenting on this particular video. So we shall leave the issue at that. I'm not going to answer any more comments on this particular subject you bring up, unless you actually bring me some evidence. If you don't bring me any evidence about why you think A, B, and C, then I'm not interested, because I'm not going to try and persuade you I think something when I don't, because I can't, and you don't know you don't know more than me. So let's move on. Secret Space Disclosure Basis 2025 Conference. We got a timestamp from Red Ibex. Ooh. What's this? 121.25.
The doors. Hey Ben, Andy, I've just seen you. What? No, I've been here. And I thought,
What's this?
I'm really losing my nuts. I'm losing my nut.
Oh, that's when I was going through the alleyway. Yeah, that was when I was going through the alleyway. I was going through the alleyway between through devices, yeah. And Red Ibex is super weird. Does Andy have a double to you, do you think? And let me just, what was this about? Sorry, I've got to remind myself what this was about.
The doors. Hey Ben, Andy, I've just seen you. What? No, I've been here. And I thought, I'm really...
Right, yeah, sorry, because I was using a fake name. Yeah, that's not his real name. I don't know, you see, it's very weird, because other things happened that same day. Literally, it was less than an hour later, the towel incident happened, where his towel disappeared. It is like some kind of Matrix glitch, Red. So either he has a double, I mean, I haven't seen that double again, or there is some kind of Matrix glitch where I saw him in two places, literally within minutes of each other. But it was a very strange experience. I'm going to write more. I'm going to write an article about it at some point, because there's several other incidents happened. All right, Over the Moon says. Over the Moon says on reply to comments 125 2 weeks ago. So I'm now going. As I said, I'm going to cut and paste this comment into my Artemis future video notes, which a video which someday will actually be made, and then all the people who said I'll never make it will be forced to eat humble pie, except they never will. They will just double down with some more nonsense. But I'm not replying to that today, because it's to do with Artemis 2. Secret Space Disclosure Basis 2025 Conference. Red Ibex. Drowsiness at a conference is an attendee's worst nightmare. Oh, and I forgot to put the tag on the timestamp on again, which I will do. That was all the stuff. I've almost posted Over the Moon's comment at Red Ibex. I don't know if it's the worst nightmare, Red, but it's certainly a very annoying one, and it seems that no matter how much I sleep the night before, how well I will suffer from it, because I'm in a warm room, I'm focusing, I'm concentrating. Very often I feel drowsy, yeah, and I wish I didn't. I mean, I could sit at the front and then the speaker wouldn't see me and think they were putting me to sleep. Red Ibex says on the same video, wow, how annoying. Your flatmate phoned at 3 a.m. Has it happened since then? No, no, he hasn't. I was a bit annoyed with him. He was very apologetic, and even brought us like a takeaway. He even brought us a takeaway. He was he said sorry, and we accepted his apology, But yeah, that was a bit annoying. He was just locked out of the bloody house. Well, he locked himself out because he lost his bloody key. Red Ibex says on the same video, is Chuck Norris's death sad to you? Yeah. I mean, he was the last of. He was the kind of character you can't have anymore. That is a positive masculine character in a movie. You can't have that anymore. You've got to have some strong woman, especially because he's white. I mean, it's not allowed now. So yeah, it's sad. I mean, no doubt. I mean, the memes are incredible. They continue even post post mortem. They continue. I mean. I was tweeting one myself when he got what's the first thing he said when he got to heaven? Get out of my chair. Red Ibex says, did you get involved with the 2005 Chuck Norris facts internet phenomena? No. What is that? I'll just Google it quickly. I hope there's a short, simple answer to this. Chuck Norris facts. Chuck Norris facts website. Is that it? The original. Oh yeah, the original collection since 2005. Is this the one you mean? I'll show it. I'll just show it to you all. This could be the one you mean. Celebrating 20 years of a legend. Oh, it's now saying it's now got it's not got an obituary to him. What are Chuck Norris's facts? Humorous, exaggerated statements about the martial artist and actor Chuck Norris. Oh right, yeah, there were loads, weren't they? Chuck Norris caught the coronavirus. He keeps it chained in his backyard. When Chuck Norris arrived at the gates of 7, St. Peter showed his ID. Chuck Norris threw a grenade that killed 50 people. Then it exploded. Chuck Norris's dog trained to pick up his own poop because Chuck Norris will not take shit from anyone. Yeah. Chuck Norris can hear sign language. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience. Yes. There is no theory of evolution. Just a list of creatures that Chuck Norris allows to live. Yeah, that's the kind of memes I was talking about. Yeah, nice one. Nice one. Thanks very much, Red. And we have here another timestamp on the same video from Red Ibex, who says here, 142 books and Mars bars for sale. What's this?
This is a stall here.
Oh yeah. Oh right. There's this stall here. Yeah, I'll better show it to you.
James Casbolt's new book.
Oh right, yeah, that was one of the
I read his previous one, Agent Buried Alive.
There's Mars bars.
There's two here. That's Peter.
Yes, you're right. There were Mars bars. I mean, there's 3 of them lying there. I don't know. Does that mean they were kind of? Does that mean they were selling them? I don't know. I didn't buy any. Red Ibex says here on the same video, do you believe in trapped souls as per Miriam's thesis? I think so, yeah. I think there is a situation which I think could explain some ghosts where a spirit cannot move on from the earth. And I think that was kind of what I didn't understand every word Miriam said, but I think that's what she was talking about. She'd correct me if I'm wrong. This has actually been portrayed a lot in fiction, where someone has an encounter with various ghosts. Jacob Marley, for example, in the classic novella by Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. I mean, and even more interesting, I think, is the film, which actually tells the same story from the ghost's point of view as the main character, which is the film Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore and Whoopi Goldberg. Very good film. In the case of the latter, the Sam Wheat, the character played by Swayze, he can't move. He has to save his ex-girlfriend from some gangsters who want to kill her, and he can't move on until he's achieved that. Very good film indeed. Steve Mumley says, still glad you supported the orange half. This is on reply to comments 112 and 25. Still glad you supported the orange half-wit Ben. Well, as I've explained, Steve, no, I'm not. And I actually say so in the video, I think, when certainly many videos. Of course, I don't know. I'm not pleased that I supported Trump, knowing based on what he's done since in his second term. Certainly in the last couple of months, he's been terrible. I mean, it's like he's been tamed. Do you know what I mean? It's like someone has caught him and tied him down, and he's just not the same man anymore. They did the same thing happened to Boris Johnson. Yeah. So no, if I'd known this was going to happen, I'd never have supported him. I hope he can break out of it. The fact that he hasn't fired Tulsi Gabbard is a good sign. But, you know, he needs whatever they've got on him. And I don't think it's the Epstein files, because the context in which Trump appears in the Epstein files appears to be innocent. That being said, there are still like 1.5 million still classified. We'll see what's in those. But they clearly have some kind, the bad guys, the globalists, clearly have some kind of leverage on him. They clearly do. And I don't know what it is. Red Ibex. Is Bridget Macron a man? Bridget Macron, I believe, is a transsexual. There's a lot of evidence. It's not just from Candace Owens. There was actually a French journalist who came up with this and actually publicized it as well. And the Macrons attempted to sue him, and they lost. They've launched a lawsuit against Candace, in which they won. And now Candace has actually gone into hiding. She's scared for her life. She thinks they might try and send French intelligence to assassinate her. I don't know if that's true. I personally, it doesn't really matter. I mean, whether Bridget Macron is male or female. I mean, the guy is like a Rothschild gimp. I mean, that's all. What matters is he's a very bad thing for France. He's basically playing the Starmer role in France. It doesn't matter who he's married to. Based on the evidence I've seen, she, to use her current pronoun, was born male, and I don't know exactly when she transitioned, but was it before? I think it was before they got married, but it may have been. I think it was before they got married. But it was after they first met, when Macron. And this is where it does get a bit dodgy, because Macron was apparently 14 years old, and he at the time was like about 25 years older, and was a teacher. Was a school teacher. I mean, whether see that to me is the dodgy part of it. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. But I mean, the very fact they told a lie like that, I suppose, is significant. But, you know, I don't know why they bothered to lie, because honestly, if just imagine that the lefties doing pirouettes over this, you know, we have the first ever president married to a trans woman. They'd love it. I mean, he'd get so much support from the left. He'd probably be able to take a lot of the votes off Jean-Luc Mélenchon if he did that. But he won't. He's going through this pretense that she's a cis woman. I think the phrase is. All right, we now have on Reply to Comments 125. What's this? Let's just see. It's David Splendid Isolation. All right, it's not David Splendid Isolation, David Smith. Okay, it's not about the subject. It's not about the subject. I'm going to defer to the next video or future video, so I'm going to answer it. David says, dismissing a claim that can't be demonstrated isn't irrational. It's the very definition of rational. Suggesting I don't know, therefore it must be real, is irrational. I agree. Did I disagree with that? It's not that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It's more like every claim requires enough evidence. David, you're kind of repeating what I said here. A claim, I have a dog, nothing amazing. A claim, I have a box of gold waiting for you, definitely requires more evidence if you're logical and rational. You know, you actually are just repeating what I've said now, and you haven't put it in quotes. So you're not disagreeing with me here. Dismissing a claim that's so incredible is logical unless it can be demonstrated. All right, I see where you're getting now. It never was. There were very little in the way of controls or repeatability. It's why anything paranormal has never been demonstrated, and whenever people try, it always ends in failure. Okay. Well, I disagree totally with the last two sentences, but I could go through the facts of psychical research for you if you want. What you say at the beginning is interesting. Dismissing a claim that's so incredible is logical unless it can be demonstrated. It never was. All right. That I think is, firstly, right, that I think is wrong because you say it's so incredible. All right. Well, how many incredible points does it have? 5, 10, 15, 20? Tell me how many, where does it actually sit on the incredible scale? All right. How many units of incredibility do you need before to the point where you can dismiss something just because you choose to? For no other reason. You don't even need to look at it. You don't even need to think about it. You just dismiss it instantly. Because I think you need to state exactly what you mean by so incredible. You need to explain why the cutoff point, the ceiling of incredibility is set at where you want to set it. And until you do that, then I don't agree. All right, okay. We've got a thread now, and it's David Smith again. Okay. Your clown's day off fallacy isn't a fallacy. Yes, it is. It's just arguing. It's just something you argue to avoid having to provide evidence. Rubbish. It's something I'm actually talking to and trying to have a discussion with you about, and I'm happy to do that. But the idea that I would just say this to avoid something else is just a slur against me, David. So shut up. I think this is the reason you. Oh, here we go. I think this is the reason you don't really talk with skeptics about these kinds of claims. I don't, do I? Here we go again. Here we go again. I don't talk to skeptics. Yes, David, I just blocked you, haven't I? And I've just told, get thee behind me, skeptic. I'm not, please don't comment on my channel. What? Do you see how irrational you are being when just saying that? I'm only about a third of the way through this comment and you're already talking crap. He says it, because any decent skeptic would straight away highlight how irrational and illogical you are on these things. But, are you the one who's told me about that James's pipe thing? Are you the one who actually posted the most ridiculous comment I've ever seen? Ben, you were so invested in this pipe being really alien, weren't you? The only person who could possibly say that I was invested in James's pipe being really alien would be someone who didn't even watch the bloody videos, because I explained so clearly about how I wasn't. Anyway, you have to twist yourself in knots and make some of the worst analogies I've ever heard, Ben. Example, please. I say this as someone who's a fan of your knowledge on these claims, not in a nasty way. Well, thank you, David. But I appreciate that. But you are using rhetoric against me now, and you are using an ad hominem. This thing about me twisting myself in the knots. There's not even an explanation here about exactly what you mean. And then it's claiming that I don't talk to skeptics. I don't really talk to skeptics about these claims, because any decent skeptic would straight away highlight how illogical, rational, and illogical you are on these things. All right, well, you tell me exactly what things you're talking about, first of all. Exactly what subject are we discussing here? And explain to me how irrational and illogical I am, all right? And then see if I talk to you or not. As an experiment, right? To prove yourself right or wrong. The penny analogy I use is so simple, but you just skimmed over it without seeming to give it much thought. I'd advise you really to think about it. It's a basic foundational logic that expose where you're going wrong with these things. All right, you know what? I'm really sorry about this, David. I don't remember exactly what the penny analogy was. Apologies. Anyway, Red Ibex asks, Red Ibex asked David, what exactly is a clown's day off fallacy? Well, Red, I've said, I can explain a couple of times, and I'll come back to this. But anyway, Steve Polish says to Red, you need to ask Ben, as he invented it, along with the term backslappers and his redefinition of skeptic as a person who doesn't accept or is suspicious of woo-woo fables and theories. That's correct. I mean, yeah, Steve, I actually have invented quite a few things. I have redefined skeptic correctly, I think. I've corrected the definition. Backslappers is one of my inventions. It would describe something I've noticed, along with MBA, Boudica moments. These are things that are unique to me. And Steve then says, as David infers, one of Ben's favorite tricks is to reinterpret valid criticism into something he can then knock down in convoluted gibberish. Bullshit, Steve. Bullshit. I don't do that. David Smith says to Red Ibex. It's a long comment here. To Red, it's a way of Ben. This is another reply to Red Ibex. It's a way of Ben to deny his burden of proof and tar anyone who doesn't believe as he does, as someone believing in things even less likely to be true. The problem is it makes no sense. It's like asking, how do you explain the picture of a box of gold in the scammer sent me if it's not real? simple answer is we know many people don't go around giving away boxes of gold. We know scammers exist. How many times have we had confirmation of the box of gold actually turning up? Yes, we did discuss this, David, and I explained, and I actually did explain to you how this was not a proper comparison. I explained to you why it was reasonable to be suspicious if someone turns up with a photo of a box of gold and says, "Just send me the release fee, and it's all yours." I know. I explained why that, and that was not a proper comparison. David says Ben can't apply this logic and skepticism to his paranormal claims because you collapse them pretty quick. How do you explain someone doing something during a seance? It must be paranormal, according to Ben, because he doesn't have the evidence against it. God, that's another gross misrepresentation of me. What that actually means is he simply doesn't know how they did it, but believes it to be paranormal. But if someone suggests it was a mundane explanation, then he'll label it the clown's day off fallacy. Well, no, I don't actually say. I suppose you're referring to the Helen Duncan photographs by Harry Price. I suggested that maybe the paranormal claim was valid and likely because of basically a process of elimination. If that's what you're referring to here in terms of context. I was not actually saying, well, it must be paranormal because I don't know how else it could be. No, because I wanted to know how else it could be made. I wanted to know how someone could regurgitate massive pieces of fabric, as Will Goldston of the Magic Circle said. And I don't see how that could be. That explanation fell short, even though it is the default one. So therefore, I says, well, if that's not the explanation, what else could it be? Maybe it's ghosts. And then you just said, well, if someone suggests it was a mundane explanation, he'll label it the clown's day off fallacy. Not any mundane explanation. I don't call it a clown's day off fallacy. All right. If someone sends you a box of like lumps of lead in place of the gold in the scammer we were talking about, I don't call that a clown's day off fallacy. I say it's a mundane explanation if we use the comparison of gold being real paranormal. So that, again, that's a misrepresentation of me. The problem with that is we know mundane things exist. It's not like we have demonstrations of paranormal abilities, despite the claims. In the same way, we don't have confirmed cases of gold turning up. Well, firstly, yes, we do have I think we have demonstrations of paranormal abilities. I think there are distinct reasons, intellectual, cultural, and political, why these are never accepted. So it's not fair to compare that to the Nigerian Princess Gold scam. When your beliefs require you to turn off your skepticism and basic critical thinking, you should really consider if they have any merit. This is why I've yet to hear Ben take on a skeptic and talk about these kinds of beliefs he had. There are channels with call-in shows that would be respectful to Ben and give him an audience. Why doesn't he take that opportunity if he's so sure? He'll do talks to a room of people who believe the same. Right, oh, bloody, you're right. Here we go. This is, again, why do people do this? Let me just. Why do people make things up like this? Let's have a look. Okay, I'm showing you now so you can see what it is. Okay, I'm using a couple of keywords here to try and find the right. Oh, and that's not it. Okay. I know, I'll go to my portal. This is a long time ago. This was a long time ago, but I just want to demonstrate to David. I want to prove him wrong. Here we go. Where is it? God, I've written so much, I can't even find the stuff I've written. That's the problem. Ugh. All right, I'm going to try something else here. I'll try something else. Merseyside, that's it. Right. Right, where is it? Here we are. Here we go. No, not be reasonable. Where is it? Is it be reasonable? It is actually be reasonable. Here we go. Right. Do you want me to read this out? It says here. So let me just remind you of what David said. Right. There are channels with call-in shows that would be respectful to Ben and give him an audience. Why doesn't he take that opportunity if he's so sure? He'll just do talks to rooms full of people who believe the same thing. Right. I've been interviewed on the Be Reasonable podcast hosted by Michael Marshall of the Merseyside Skeptics Society. Oh, page not found. All right. Oh, God, someone's going to say I made this up, aren't you? You're going to say I bloody made this up. Look, I didn't make it up. Merseyside skeptics exist. All right. I have done exactly what you say I haven't done here, so I don't know what you're talking about here. Again, I do wonder how much of my videos you're actually watching. You say here, I turn off skepticism and basic critical thinking. And you've yet to hear me take on a skeptic and talk about these kinds of beliefs. Well, firstly, I've taken on you and Steve Mumbling and Steve Polish and all the other skeptics on this channel. So I don't just talk to rooms full of people who believe the same. And I have been on the Merseyside Skeptics. So why doesn't that count? Anyway. And here we go. And yes, I've tried checking Ben's other content. The discussions I've heard have either been almost completely unrelated to the paranormal claims, or the audio is so bad it's difficult to listen to. It'd be nice if Ben had the files and could clean them up a bit and put them here on his own channel. I find his website pretty buggy and difficult to navigate. That's an excuse, David. That's an excuse. That's copium. That's copium. It's Blogger, for goodness sake. I don't have my own website. It's not. Don't be ridiculous. Okay. I just showed you within 2 minutes. I found you a reference. Why couldn't you find that? There's a skeptic portal I've got. Red Ibex says you're definitely a good writer, David. And Red David says very funny. Why is that funny? I mean, maybe Red was being sincere. Anyway, moving on. David Smith says here, on reply to comments 125, you're suggesting that because someone believes oh yeah, here we go. Sorry, this is just an explanation, all right, which I didn't understand earlier. An analogy. You're suggesting that because someone believes the pennies in my wallet aren't an odd number, then they must believe they're even. But the fact is, until you have good evidence, you have no clue, so it's logical to dismiss both claims. Well, yeah, I mean, there are only two possibilities when it comes to numbers. They're either odd or even. All numbers are either odd numbers or even numbers. There are half of each. You've got a 50% chance of each, so you can guess. But yeah, I mean, it's not dismissing both claims. It's not accepting either claims, and those two things are very different. Which maybe where we misunderstand. Maybe we're misunderstanding each other here. David says another analogy would be the courtroom. If it's either guilty or not guilty, and in rare cases innocent, as believes. Well, in terms of verdict, there is kind of unproven verdict in some courts, but they will just say you're innocent is the same thing as not guilty. As believers in the paranormal has failed to meet the burden of proof, I find the paranormal not guilty of existing. Well, it's funny you should say that, because there have been like mock trials of various phenomena. In fact, I've got a book here. Right, here you go. That's handy. Okay. I'm ashamed I haven't got the green screen. Roswell, The Truth on Trial by Christopher A. Johnston. No relation to Miles. That's handy having that there, isn't it? That's very, very handy. That's very, very convenient. Did I just knock my microphone? Just check my mic's still working. And it is, yeah. So that's a good example there. And in terms of to use what you've just said to adapt your metaphor, the author actually what he actually says is that the Roswell incident is guilty of existing. So there's an example. There's one example that is not the case. And I disagree with you about other phenomena not failing to meet the burden of proof. And he says here, your job as a believer should be to provide enough evidence for it to be found guilty. Ta-da! But I don't have to prove it's innocent in order to avoid the guilty verdict. Oh, well, I'm tempted to make a satirical joke about the modern legal system, David, but of course that's true. You don't have to prove that Roswell was a weather. Well, you do have to prove it was a weather balloon, but you don't have to prove that it was not aliens. All right, you don't have to do that. You don't have to say, well, no one can prove that it wasn't aliens, so it must be aliens. And you're right not to have to do that. Yeah. It's not about using the mundane to explain everything. The guy talking about cheese, well, you kind of are doing that, I think. The guy talking about cheesecloth, I have no clue. I don't believe his cheesecloth claim, and I don't have to. I do know magicians and performers are using sleight of hand and other tricks, though. And I do know that nothing paranormal has ever been definitively shown to exist or have any good support backing it up. But it doesn't even matter because I can simply dismiss it and accept that I don't know how something happened or how it was done. All right. You have no clue. You don't believe the cheesecloth claim, and you don't have to. All right. So what you're saying is there is another method that Helen used to fool Harry Price that doesn't involve what Harry Price claimed, or was it ghosts? Well, that is the Clown's Day Off fallacy, because now you're talking about you're speculating about a third party, a third, an extra option for which there isn't. You don't even define it or say what it is. And you're wrong about nothing paranormal has ever been definitively shown to exist, as I said. And yeah, it's okay. You can actually dismiss the ghost theory. You can actually say that you just don't know how something happened. So you can choose to dismiss that if you want. You can choose to dismiss that. What you can't do is then say, because I say it might be ghosts, there's maybe a 90% chance it was done by ghosts, that somehow that's bad logic or incorrect on my part, because it's not. Just because I can't explain it doesn't mean the answer must be paranormal. I know. I can't explain a lot of magic tricks. I'm pretty sure when you watch those, you don't think they're using real magic, do you? No, I mean, I love watching magicians because I try to work out what they do. I mean, people like David Copperfield, Darren Brown, who's a skeptic as well. I think to myself, how do they do that? And I watch it, trying to work it out. And that's part of the fun. That's one of the reasons why magic shows are such good fun. It's one of the reasons why I don't personally want to know how they do it. I could deliberately avoid these kind of reveal programs that keep coming out. I deliberately avoid them because I try to work it out myself. So yeah, but that again, I don't think that's a correct comparison. If you can't explain every aspect of a performance, then why isn't that paranormal? Just like with the gold scam, you gloss over it every time I mention it, but you're actually just using skepticism for things like that in magic shows, and then not daring to use it for your beliefs on the paranormal. Right? Okay. Well, you got a point there. Actually, could I actually? There's something I'm going to have to think about. Right? Could I actually then say that when I see Paul Daniels pulling a rabbit out of a hat, that he's actually pulling an imaginary rabbit out of the ether, or out of the spirit world or something? I'm gonna have to think about that. You've kind of given me. You've left this a bit open ended. I don't have an answer for that right now, but I'll have to get back to you because I don't have an answer for that. I don't. John Nolan says in reply to comments 100. Oh, hang on, there's a thread there. No, there's not. No. Okay. Anyway, great comment, David. I enjoyed that. You've left me without an answer, so that doesn't often happen with me. Reply to comments 125. John P. Nolan, the black goo. Yeah. And we have Elliot Defoe here, who says here on 125. Hello again, Ben. Hello, Elliot. I was also in Watford in 2013 for the Bilderberg protest. Oh, cool. It was just before I moved to Poland. I remember sharing a joint or two with a few people and Ike and Jones arriving by the river. Also, the helicopter buzzing overhead with their cameras filming everyone. So glad I left London, and it wasn't Ike's book, The Biggest Lie, which I only read in early 2012, that put me on the right path to start learning so much about what has already happened and is yet to come. Hey, Elliot, it's good to see you. I think it's The Biggest Secret, you mean, or unless there's another one I missed. But yeah, Poland in many ways seems to be a happier country than Britain right now. I know a couple of Polish hospital porters who've gone there. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, yeah, it was great, wasn't it? I don't think we actually met. I don't remember you, but I remember those things. The boat, the Bilderberg barge with Alex Jones with his megaphone, and the security and everything. Yeah, it was great. It was a great event. Okay, so now we have Over the Moon making a comment, which I'm going to cut and paste into the I'm going to cut and paste into the Artemis comments notes, which he's going to claim is never going to be made into a video. But then, you know, I think this is an example of some gold scam coming true, and you will find out next week. Oxford Canal first says, wow, I've done it again. I've done it again. You'll have to shout and remind me. Remember to put the timestamp back on your clipboard, or you'll end up sending wow signals over the moon comment. Gold tinfoil hat for wow signal. Cat of Joy says on Oxford Canal, Secundus. That's a type of watch, isn't it? Anyway, silver to you. Spaceman says restless native pen ? He was rather restless, wasn't he? Yeah. I mean, as someone said actually on BitChute, because I've already actually recorded the alt-tech version. You know, it could be he actually thought I was a friggin' auditor. That's why he shouted at me across the road and told me to stop recording, because people like DJE Media and Charlie Veach and these other auditors. I mean, by auditors I mean the kind of neo auditors that are not as good as the old ones. They don't make serious points. They just go around like winding people up. He thought I might be one of those, because when you go into YouTube, that's mostly what you see now, isn't it? Because those guys are just hogging all the attention with their idiocy. I mean, he might have thought I was one of those, which is why he shouted at me across the road. It doesn't excuse his behaviour, but it might explain why he reacted like that. Oxford Canal, Tessa 1111. Not an Amber Spyglass series, and the Nicole Kidman movies were awful. And Tessa says, I find Tarot's Hermit card useful for imitators. The Amber Spyglass. No, it's actually I never actually watched the series, Tessa. I couldn't bear it. I saw the trailer and it looked bloody shit. I love the books. The books are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I was so into them. I really was. And I've not read the Book of Dust yet, but I did read the little novellas that Pullman produced. But the movie with Nicole Kidman wasn't that bad. I mean, it was all right. It was Daniel Craig, Nicole Kidman. It weren't that bad, but there was only the first one done. In fact, it wasn't even the entire first novel that was dramatized. It was like the first 3/4 of the first book, Northern Lights, was actually dramatized as the Golden Compass, and it wasn't that bad. But yeah. So the Hermit card, useful for intimidators. Right. I'll try and tuck one of those into my sleeve. Thank you. Thanks, Tessa. Arch Channel says on Oxford Canal, are you auditing the canal? Well, the funny thing is I reacted the way an auditor would, which wasn't really my fault, because I didn't, I wouldn't have, if he hadn't shouted at me across the road, I wouldn't have seen him. You know what I mean? But he gained attention to himself. He told me to go away. I refused. When I eventually did go away, he followed me up the street. I didn't actually film that bit. He might appear out of frame, but on the edge of the frame. He followed me across the bridge, and then when I got to the Pelican Crossing, he just shouted more insults at me. So after I go away, he follows me. Then he wandered off. Thank goodness. Ravenhill says here. Good at Ravenhill Times of Old 1968. He's got a different username every time he appears. Who says, good evening, Ben. There are a lot of suspicious characters around now. God, not half, mate, not half. Neil Peel Paranormal Peep Show says here on Oxford Cadell. I saw Timmy Mallet punting down that river at ISIS back in 1989 when I was with a girlfriend then. There. I shouted out Timmy and he ducked and left my former girlfriend to face the mallet. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was. I could just see him going like that with a stick, going itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow dot bikini. How did that song become a hit? How did that guy even become a celebrity? How am I doing for time? All right, I'm going to stop in a minute, but I actually had to pause it for a little while, so I'll go on for a few more minutes. Neil Peel says here. The guy hassling you about filming him, he shouts from across the road you're giving him grief and then follows you. How bloody annoying. I lose patience with idiots like that. Best way to deflect him is to tell him Timmy Mallet is punting down the river. Not a cat's hell in chance. He would know. He would know. He ever would, mind you. I don't know if he's old enough to. I don't know how old he was. I don't think he's old enough to remember Timmy Mallet. I barely am. I'll tell you. And then David Splendid Isolation, who's very different from David Smith, says here, Ben, this is all the more why I'm for filming in public. These idiots need it hammered into their stupid craniums that public filming is actually legal, is entirely legal. In fact, there should be a national public information campaign to educate the idiot masses. When you come across these idiots, don't back down. And well done for not backing down. You're within your rights, absolutely. I've got the chat GPT to make up a poster for theoretical campaigns. We'll send it to you and see what you think. Oh, thanks. If you did, I'm sorry I didn't see it, David, but remind me. Remind me. And David Smith says underneath, I support this. I love watching DJ audits, the best auditor I've found. When it's members of the public, they all seem to be a bit mentally unstable. When it's people at work, they seem to be just on an ignorant power trip. Either way, Ben did really good at not losing his temper. Thanks, David Smith. David Smith is the skeptic who's very different from the other David, but I appreciate that, David. You see, things I like, DJ audits is not too bad, actually, because he still does the good old-fashioned traditional kind of auditing, which is making a serious point about the law and about civil rights and about how people behave when they're within the system and they're actually given a little bit of power within the system. That's good. That's what original auditing was. That's how actually Charlie started out when he was, a number of years ago. The problem is that auditing has warped into it's actually warped into like a pale husk, an imitator of its former self. I've written an article about this. Here we go. I can say it best, and like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but here, the end of auditing. This is an article you can actually read where I explain exactly what I mean here. And I put here that it's dismaying to see the phenomenon degenerate into a fake and plastic parody of its former self. It would have been better to see the auditor simply celebrate their victory and demob rather than watch some of them continue in this shallow, tabloid, sadistic, and pointless manner. Yeah. So I put it very well there, I think. But some of them. Another guy says PTTP. He's actually pretty good because he does the traditional auditing as well. He'll go like into job centres and outside police stations, and he will actually say he will actually make the same. He would do what the original auditors do: assert his rights under law, and things like that. And so that's very different from going up to some poor down and out and just like sticking the camera into their face and calling them names until they react. Yeah. And David Smith says on Oxford Canal, well done for standing your ground there. Thanks, David. And we have here the Cat of Joy once again. Very good name, that. It's another. It's another questionnaire. Oh. All right, brogues or loafers? Oh, loafers. Well, brogues are all right, like for formal occasions, but loafers definitely for casual ones. Where did your parents first meet? All right. I don't mind answering. If I don't want to answer a question, I will. I'll just say so, Cat. All right, but I'll answer them if I can. My parents met in Birmingham in about 1968, when my dad was a student at the Polytechnic, and my mum was an au pair from the Netherlands. Yes, we all know about au pairs and what they get up to. Well, my mum didn't shag the husband like most of them do. She actually did it to my dad. So that's how they first met. And Kat says, my father used to be a beekeeper and gave me a bee as a pet, but it stung me and died. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I don't think bees make great pets, You can't sort of like pat them on the head and things like that. What was your first pet and what was it called? All right. My first pet that I ever had was a cat. I didn't have it. My parents had it, and I was like about 5 years old. And it was a cat called Julie, who, despite the name, was actually male. And sadly, Julie didn't survive the move to Oxford. he was used to like wandering around because we lived in a small village in West Wales, and he was used to wandering long distances, and he got run over within about a month of us arriving. Trinity from the Matrix. Would you snog, marry, or avoid? Certainly not marry. Might snog her. Yeah. But not, yeah. But she's not bad. Do you own a draft excluder? If so, what does it look like? Mine has cats on it naturally. That's all for now. Okay. I don't have a draft excluder, actually. We've got like a pretty good door here that it has like a what's the word? A jam on the floor. You know, it has a jam, G-A-M-B, on the floor. I know we have here we have here Rhiannon who's answering, who says, yeah, I know you're asking, Ben, but I'm going to be cheeky and answer because I'm so impressed with your question schedule. Definitely brogues, loafers are for second-hand car salesmen only. Oh dear. Rhiannon, that's a new career for me. My parents met in Ronnie Scott's jazz club. That's kind of quite romantic, isn't it? My first pet was a cat called Yowler, a tabby. I wouldn't do any of those things with Trinity from the Matrix. Well, of course not. You're not a leser, are you? I would be interested to know where she got her coat from, though. Oh yeah, that big long leather trench coat. They're quite cool. They are, aren't they, in the Matrix? I used to own a draft excluder. That was the shape of a fluffy snake, but that was many years ago. Ben, I think, can confidently speak up upon Cat of Joy's behalf when I say we await your response to this question schedule with interest. Yes, indeed. Okay, now we have a thread here. Oh, what's this? Pentax 10, right you are. This is going to be fun. Finally got around to listening to this. Oh, good. But you missed out the word allegedly about 1,000 times, Ben. Well, if I did so, that it was for the case of brevity and stopped. It's like people who like say it's like it's like when you are like in a conversation and you have a script where you have to, for every single point you make where you are implying that it's allegedly, you have to say the word when it's obvious within the context of the greater discussion that you mean allegedly. So that's why I left it out. I didn't want to keep repeating allegedly this, allegedly that. Okay, I don't have to do that. In fact, it would make my video a bit more boring. The ex-skeptic turned believer was never a skeptic. If part of his reasoning for changing his mind was a polygraph result. Oh, there's never a legitimate reason to leave the cult. Oh, dearie me. It's always saying, and indeed they're saying when Michael Shermer started wavering, I was actually on the James Randi forum at the time. Yes, I used to go on there. And they were being really nasty to him. They were being really horrible to him. And I think I might continue actually in part 2 because I'm getting a bit on because this is a long thread. Anyway, so back with part 2 soon. This has gone on a little bit. Okay, welcome to hour number 2 of this reply to comments video. I've actually changed the timestamp on that comment I was just in the middle of replying to because I realized it was going to go over. It was already over. Now, David talks here about, he went on to the allegedly thing, and he talks about the ex-skeptic turned believer was never a skeptic. Now, if you think in those terms, okay, sorry, I should qualify this. He says, if there's an if which I didn't mention, if part of his reasoning for changing his mind was the polygraph result. Well, I don't know. You say if part of his reasoning, not the only reason, but part of his reasoning. And it depends what the other parts were, I think, in that case. But I mean, people, and then you say, all right, here we go. This is the problem with people who claim they were a skeptic before. They often were, in fact, not. It sounds good to the woo crowd, though. Really, David. Okay. So what if, see, this is what Richard Dawkins says in his book that I've read, this famous book, which I thought I had to review. He has a chapter on ex-atheists who then become born again. And he makes the same claim. He says, well, they were never atheists to begin with. And the reason is because he can't conceive of how anyone who believes in what he believes could possibly change their mind and think differently, because he himself has not done that. And it's a pity you seem to have the same attitude. And that's a great pity because, you know, I don't have that attitude. I am well aware that people make both sides make converts from the other in this debate. In fact, I mean, I actually try to behave with good grace when I encounter people who have actually done what have taken the opposite route to me. Now, a good example is Brent Lee. Brent Lee is someone he was on my side. In fact, he was on the old David Icke forum back in the sort of, not the late 90s. He started sort of around 2003. But he was on the original David Icke forum. He used to go to the Wake Up Call in Scotland and other conferences like that. He made content about David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, and people like that. Then, I mean, his story is interesting because he then, in about 2015, he started to change his mind. He took a couple of years out, then he came back as a skeptic. And today he presents a show with Neil Sanders. As far as Neil Sanders goes, I feel much less charitable towards him than I do to Brent, because for reasons I won't I think he's less honest than Brent. But you see here, look, I accept. I don't actually say to Brent, well, you were never really a conspiracy theorist, were you, Brent? You never were. In fact, I met him here. Look, you see here. There he is. I went to this event called Conspiracy Theory and Culture, which is at Conway Hall, organised by the London Fortean Society. This is some pictures here of various people here during the event. There's Chris French, there's Deborah Hyde. There's me and Brent there, just to see. I said here, this is the joke. There's a picture I took with Brent. And just to prove Brent Lee really does exist, he's not some MI5 deep fake, here he is. So I accept, I don't try to pretend that Brent is being dishonest here. Yet you, and indeed Richard Dawkins, claims that there is people who used to believe what I did, and then people used to believe what you did and then changed their minds. Somehow there's either an error of logic or there is deceit on their part. That's a shame, because, as I said, it's a symptom of the cult. Cults, religious cults. There's never a good reason to leave the cult. People who are inside cults and eventually get out, they always say this. People who leave before them are hated and abused, and they're castigated by the remaining members. No one ever says, well, why did they leave? Why did they change their mind? They're just bad for leaving. And I can't think you're doing this now. David says, there was also someone saying they ruled out all possible natural phenomena. Well, that's a task and a half, considering this was a one-time event with very little corroborating evidence. It's very much a case of, I can't explain it, so I get to insert my pet beliefs. It's the aliens of the gaps argument. No, not entirely. I think if they said they ruled out all possible natural phenomenon, well, that would be a task and a half indeed. I think it's fair to say that you can rule out all natural phenomena that it is within reasonable doubt to speculate happened, based on the evidence that's been collected. In which case, then what was it? If it wasn't like a balloon, if it wasn't flares, if it wasn't some military exercise, if it wasn't a weird cloud, and you know it's not all those things, well, you can keep going on you can make that list as long as you like. But then to say at the end of it, well, maybe it was an extraterrestrial spacecraft, is not an aliens of the gaps argument. This is kind of an adaptation on what we were talking about before. And here we have none other than the Pentuck incident. This is Kaz or Gary here, who says here, regardless of your beliefs, David, I saw it, and I'm not the only witness across South Wales. It's your choice not to want to believe, but it's not your choice to decide for others. Not everyone is in denial, David. David replies here. David is not defeated easily. He says here, there is so much wrong with what you're saying. First, it's not my beliefs. I haven't stated anything that isn't a matter of fact. We don't choose our beliefs. We experience things, both reliable and unreliable, that cognitively push us into what may be and may not believe. Who am I deciding for what for exactly? You seem to reply with petty jabs rather than responding to the factual issues I've raised. You then accuse me of being in denial. I'm not the one constantly having to dance around answering straightforward questions and comments and questions. Perhaps you should stop telling people what to believe and accusing them of being in some kind of denial or fear. I don't think Kaz is telling you what to believe, David. She's not actually. I don't believe she's doing that here. You haven't actually you say you haven't stated anything that isn't a matter of fact, but you have made a claim here in terms of causality and epistemology, which does fly in the face of, I think, common sense. That's, okay, I wouldn't say you're in denial here. I wouldn't agree with Kaz on that, but I think you are. You're on a route here. You are on a sidetrack, which is keeping you from the truth. It's not the same as denial, but it is. You are saying what you said here. Well, it's an aliens are the gaps argument. All possible natural phenomena, etc., as I just explained. And Pentakinson says here, just look at the evidence, David, and stop trying to dance around the facts of this case. I have taken the time to answer your questions personally, even though the evidence has been published for all to see. So I cannot help you further, David, until you learn to help yourself. Well, it's true, David. Kaz is right here. Okay, I think it's Kaz. I think she actually runs the YouTube channel. It has been published. My video here is just a part of what we're dealing with here. It just is. And David says, I asked you already, just look at the evidence isn't proof. What should I be? Well, isn't it? It's certainly proof. Well, proof is when you rule out everything else, but looking at the evidence is what you skeptics tell us to do, don't you? What should I be looking at exactly? What exactly did the government admit? How does that provide conclusive evidence to your claim? Where has it been published? Well, the answer to all your questions here are you should be looking at everything available, including what's on that channel, the Pentock incident, and the stuff that I published, and what Gary Jones has published. What did the government admit? Well, again, it's the evidence is the evidence is in the new edition of the book that's coming, and indeed it's on the channel already in the official recording. How does that provide conclusive evidence of your claim? Well, again, it's there. It's hard to answer that question unless you actually look at it and then talk about the actual event, talk about the evidence that's actually provided. And where has it been published? Again, it's on the YouTube channel. There's a first edition of a book, and there's a new one coming out. So that's an answer to all your questions there, David. Now we've Pentac 10, who says using an AI on any photos won't give you any conclusions either. AI will often add things. It's definitely not a tool that would help in a case like this. No, it depends what AI program you're talking about here. Okay, if you're talking about like a Photoshop type thing, and if you provide random, for example, the Deep Dream software, like the Deep Dream program, you give them a random pattern, and you say make something out of this that is believable. And the classic one is the dog. So you hand them a random pattern, make tiny changes, and you run this cycle over and over. And within like about 600 or 700 cycles, you end up with a picture of a dog. It depends what AI program you're using. Now, the one Kaz used and Gary used was a photo analysis program, which is very, very different. And as Pentax instance says here, it's for an approximate size, but nothing else. There you go. It's not some kind of deep fake software we're talking about here. Oxford Cadell over the moon said, another person you had a major bust up with. Geez, it's a long list. Has it ever crossed your mind it might be you? Yes, of course. I mean, we're talking about it is kind of me because it's a clash of personalities. But is it really that much of a long list? How many people have I fallen out with compared to most other people over the moon? Is it? I mean, see, I'm not actually. You see, it is kind of me because it's kind of I'm the one like who's saying this has been caused by my my own personality and what I want out of life, what I expect from other people's conduct towards me, and whether or not that conduct matches it. So yeah, it is kind of me, but at the same time, other people are also at fault here because they're the ones who will say things like, they'll treat me in a certain way I don't want to be treated. Okay, they'll treat other people the way someone wants to be. In the case of Andrew Johnson, it was the way he treated somebody else that I objected to. But how often have I busted up with people compared to other people? Am I really a very belligerent person? Am I really intolerant? Am I really very unaccepting of other people? You see, I've fallen out with Neil Sanders, so why haven't I fallen out with Brent? Now, I mean, I think if this ever came to a three-way situation, Brent would take Neil's side on things. I'm not going to put him in that situation where it's him or me. I'm not going to do that, all right? But the fact of the matter is, I have a problem with Neil I don't have with Brent. So you've got to ask yourself why that is. 125, it's Red Ibex. Could you ever embrace Odinism, Ben? I've got to just get the timestamp bank. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I do like Odinism. Odinism is basically a neo-pagan faith related to the Norse mythology and religion, which I quite like, because in the same way I like the Wiccans and the Druids and people like that, it's kind of related to traditional and indigenous spirituality. So I couldn't embrace it, but I do respect it and I admire it. Odinists are quite good people. I know quite a few Odinists, and they're good guys. They're good people. They tend to be quite, shall we say, politically incorrect. They tend to have very politically incorrect opinions, but for me, that's a reason to like them even more. Red Ibex, what would you do if you appeared in the Epstein files, Ben? I would probably, I don't know what I would do, but I'd probably have to go into hiding, because I know I can name probably about 100 people who would immediately launch into a long, argued, passionate campaign of hate against me, explaining why that the only reason I could possibly appear in the Epstein files, even if it was only once, would be because I'm an evil, horrible collaborator on the level of Ghislaine Maxwell. When, as you know, that then the people who've been named in the Epstein files include Rebecca Watson. Now, Rebecca Watson is a rather obnoxious individual who I know I wouldn't get on with if I ever met her. And she's quite a hardline feminist, and I'd immediately, obviously, I'm not. I'm very opposed to that. But there's no way she's guilty of any kind of like evil. It's like Sabine Hossenfelder, who is a somewhat ridiculous German accent, who does these science and skepticism videos. She seems to be wavering a bit as well when it comes to UFOs. She's in it too. So do you really think she was on the island like doing horrible things to kids? No, of course not. But the problem is I think the way it will be framed will depend on a person's existing opinion of you. Red Ibex, this is on 125 as well. All these have been on 125. Do you believe that the Greater Israel Project will happen, or is it set to fail? The Holy Writ say it's set to fail. Either way, it will be engineered. You see, the Greater Israel Project, is it actually real? Because, I mean, a lot of people claim this, and indeed they say that the two blue stripes on the Israeli flag symbolizes the river Nile and Euphrates, and say that, which means they want to conquer everything between basically Egypt and Iraq. Now, and here we go. And it says here, the Greater Israel Project is a contentious Zionist vision aiming to expand Israel's borders beyond its 1967 lines. But it says here, potentially encompassing the West Bank, Gaza, and parts of neighboring countries like Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Egypt. It's frequently linked to far-right Israeli political figures. It says here, the movement often highlights a nation spanning from the Nile to Egypt, the Euphrates in Iraq, incorporating several regional nations. Well, obviously, look, if they're talking about a nation that big, I don't see how they could do that. I mean, as it happens, the ultra-Zionists have pretty much failed even to keep Israel to its 1948 borders, haven't they? I mean, even the post 1967 lines, which actually include their conquest of the West Bank, Gaza, and indeed the Golan Heights, and indeed for a while Sinai in Egypt as well. That's Israel's great expansion was basically between the Sinai Peninsula and the southern Lebanon Golan Heights. Now, it didn't even stay there eventually. Eventually, they gave Sinai back to Egypt. They withdrew from Gaza and the West Bank. And then, of course, now they're trying to get back in there because, Well, because Netanyahu had the best experience of his life when thousands of his countrymen were slaughtered in 2023. Oh yeah. He don't think for a moment he's sad about that. It gave him his pretext to do that. But I can't really see how you could get like literally a nation between the two great rivers, because that would be about 100 times the size that Israel is now. So in that case, if that is the project, and if there's anyone who seriously wants that, it won't work. And I don't think it will actually work, even going back to the 1967 borders, that or the occupied territories of the West Bank and Gaza. Even that won't work in the long run. I think what's going to happen is eventually there will be Israeli borders that probably don't go much beyond the original 1948 lines. That would be what we call inner Israel, possibly including the Golan Heights. But that'll be it. I'm not an expert on this issue, but I personally don't think the Greater Israel project will happen. I think it can't be engineered. I don't think. I think there will be some. These skirmishes will continue. Eventually, hopefully, I hope a time will come when there can be peace in the region. We can actually have an Israeli state, because I'm not against the idea of Israel existing. I don't have a problem with that, but maybe they can have a government, and also there'll be governments in other countries that will actually cooperate. And I think, as I've said in my specific videos about this, I believe that can only come about without the foreign interference. I think foreign interference on both sides is what is driving this conflict, quite frankly. As I explained, I go into Efrat Henningsen and what she's been saying. Efrat Henningsen, yeah. Red Ibex says on 125, no doubt Jim Clary has been replaced. I think he's more likely to have had a bit of plastic surgery. 106 read on. Sorry, this is 125. The 106 point. It's awful how Derek defaced the statue. I wonder if Derek defaced it in ancient times, or the kicking out time at the pub. Oh right, that refers to the stone, the ancient stone that was outside the pub that he'd like put his name on it, Derek. I think it was actually, seen as it's some quite modern name, I think it was in quite recent years, Red. And it may well have been just a claim to fame, like people put their names on things, people scrawl their names on the pyramids. Even Graham Hancock's dad did that. He carved his name on the pyramids of Egypt. I expect it was something like that, probably done in recent times before the statue was moved to a museum. It may have been... It may have been like some, he was angry at the pub. Maybe he got drunk and got thrown out and blames them. I don't know. As kicked out, kicking out time. But he didn't write any rude words. He just wrote his name. Oh, we got a timestamp on 125, which I'm going to have to click because I don't know what the context is. 1 second. Here we go. And had a nightmare. A gigantic sturgeon flew into a bedroom, then had another pile of Amazonian rainforest creatures dropped from the ceiling onto her bed. What interesting nightmares have you had? Where'd you get your clothes? Oh, this is I think that is the cat of joy. Imagine Nicholas Sturgeon flying in. Oh my God. I would rather it actually was a 5-ton fish than the woman named after it. Right, okay, so now I've made a mistake here, which Red has corrected me out, because I talked about YouTube in the late 1990s, and he rightly says that it didn't actually start until 2005. Well, like the man in the orthopedic shoes, I stand corrected. I mean, I was probably talking about something else. Maybe there was something, was Google Video a thing back then? I can't remember. I remember watching, like, embedded videos and things like that long ago. We've got a timestamp on 125 now, which is 1:30. Here we go. This is on, what's this? Bits of the same and old still photos. Goodness me, Steve, are you now a space conspiracy believer like New York, when they're sitting on their patio and looking up at the sky and seeing lights go over, which is rockets and satellites? They're not going to sit there and say that. They're just going to see, guys with hammer and sickles flying through the air, and they're doing it for the Americans. So I don't agree with you at all. And I think you've missed the point, really, by what you've just said here. And Steve Polis chimes in here. On a side note, Voss got 2 picked Voskhod 2 pipped Ed White's spacewalk by a few months and would appear to be the first instance of alleged space fakery due to some apparent inconsistencies between film footage, TV edits of the same, and old still photos. Oh, I get it, yeah. It's actually Steve Polish, but yeah, it does sound like he's actually saying that. He's actually claiming he's a space conspiracy theorist now. All right. Oh, and we have a really old video now. It's Welcome to HPANWO TV. It's one of my earliest. Oh my goodness me! Can you believe it? It's a really old one. I don't think I could find it on my channel. I'll have a look. But Red has put a comment on there. This was it 2009? I must have bloody made some more, because I'll tell you what. Here we go. Is this the one? It's, oh god, this is the one. Look at this. Look at this, man. This is my first ever post on the HPANWO TV blog. Is it this one? The HPANWO TV. Oh, look at that. Who's that young skinny chap there? Yeah. Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV, a brand new YouTube channel designed to be not so new now, is it? And well, yeah, Red Ibex put something there 10 days ago. And I've already put a comment reply here, and he says, "Is ufology a life works for you, Ben?" Well, seeing as this was like 17 years ago, my goodness me, I actually made some more videos. I must have deleted, because I started this was just 2009. I thought I'd made some early videos. I must have deleted them. But yeah, obviously it is. I mean, we hear all these years later, I'm still going on. Oxford Canal. Rhiannon Raven says here, you didn't lure her in with your fake personality any more than an undercover child protection officer lures in a paedophile with their fake personality. Don't take responsibility for other people's actions and behaviors, Ben. Thanks, Rhiannon. I mean, I know what you mean, and I certainly, her behavior can't be excused. But I was not myself in those days, and I can't help thinking that I kind of I created a kind of tripwire situation, and I did it subconsciously but deliberately. It doesn't excuse her behavior, but it's, if I hadn't done that, if she met me now, she would never have even considered treating me like that. Oxford Canal, Sly Fox Media says, yeah, I left a text reply to this guy. He says, was you in Nuneaton today? It's were you, not was you. I said, no, I've never been there, and I have never been to Nuneaton. I might change trains there once, but that's all. Boudica's Mound. Oh, I had such good fun making this video. First, says Red Ibex. Second, says Wow Signal. Boudica's Mound, lol. I'm sure there's a double entendre in there somewhere. I'm sure, but I couldn't think of it. If it was Boudica's Mounds plural, then obviously it's an obvious one, isn't it? John Fuse says, I didn't know that was there. Nor did I. In fact, I was quite surprised when I found out about it. I was really grateful to the guy who told me. Because I thought, I've got to go there. John Fuse says here, again, talking about those two women who were in the enclosure, sacrificing a virgin, mate. I don't think the neo-pagans do that in this day and age, John. Now, according to records, Julius, the adventures of Julius Caesar and things like that, our ancestors did do that. I mean, the Wicker Man film is actually based partly on what Caesar described. People, that the Beltane ceremony, where they literally create a statue, Wicker Man statue, and put animals and sometimes people inside it and set fire to it. Oh yeah, our ancestors did actually practice human sacrifice. In fact, in the pre-Illuminati times, in fact, the Lindo man appears to have been one of those. The guy who was garroted and his head was beaten in, and he was left in the bog to be found 2,000 years later. That man was actually possibly a sacrifice. There's a sign of that. ESP says here on Boudica's Mound, it says here, play art plus Thelonious Monk. So play art pepper plus Thelonious Monk. Is that what they are? Is that what it's called? Is it something to do with that? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. But anyway, it says, did you know Venus de Milo apparently lay in the gutter with something in her throat Ah, a la murder most foul. Wow, Hampstead Heath. Why is there loads of people running out of the forest? A treat TY. All right, I didn't understand all of that, but now Venus de Milo was actually as a statue, a famous statue, and the one I came across, which I used for that slightly lame joke, was not the original. The original is in some museum in Rome, I think. But yeah, the reason there was loads of people running around was basically because this was a Sunday afternoon and they were all out jogging and strolling and rambling and doing what people do in the London parks on a Sunday afternoon. And Cat of Joy says, there's a drag queen up north called Venus de Milo. She has no arms due to a medical condition. Unlike most drag queens, it's a real female. Well, if it's a real female, then she's not a drag queen. But it's interesting that she's used her disability and she's used her disability and given herself a name which is quite kind of a funny and appropriate. Yeah. Let's there's a photo of her. Let's have a look. There's no Venus de Milo. Oh, it's a different spelling. No. Search only for Venus de Milo. I can't say where she is. There's a here we go. AFAB drag queen from Newcastle. This is her. You're right. This is her. Who has probably a thalidomide sufferer. Look, yeah, she's got very, very diminutive arms there. Yeah, that's oh, good for her. I wish her luck. I wish her luck. She's obviously using her disability to her advantage. Good for her. NESP says, I thought you were joking. I just looked on the internet and there she is. Yes, indeed. Me too. Okay, Over the Moon has a comment here that I'm going to cut and paste. And I will into my notes for an upcoming video, as I said. That's it. So, as I said, I know how this is going to be misrepresented, but that's what I'm doing. And I will remember to go back and get the timestamp this time. Why not for the future comments? Okay. But anyway, I'll put a reply to comment here. And we have here, Over the Moon, says here on Boudicca's Mound. While standing outside Belsize Park Underground Station, you were only a few meters away from a massive deep-level government facility spanning over 80,000 square feet. There's an entrance located down the alley next to the pizzeria. Access is straightforward as the doors are rarely locked. The facility is fully operational with functional lights, lifts, telephone system, etc. Are you? I see. Are you serious? Or are you taking the piss? Because I wouldn't be surprised if you're taking the piss. If it was David Smith, I would say definitely you're taking the piss. And David's Splendid Isolation says dumb ? As in deep underground military base. Neil, what do they have there? Over the Moon says clandestine experiments yielding horrific human animal alien hybrids. The entire operation is orchestrated by a sinister triumvirate of reptilian, Nordic, and grey alien entities hailing from the planet Mongo. All right, I think that answers my question. Good job I got a sense of humor. And Neil says, standing room only. Over the Moon says, given the amount of probing going on with this reptilian Nordic grey triumvirate, I certainly wouldn't be bending over, but hey, whatever floats your gravitational disc. Far be it from me to kink shame alien abduction fantasies. Rhiannon Raven says, how do you know this? Over the Moon says, personal experience, not of the probing, obviously. Oh, my sides. Oh, dear, my poor ribs. Beverly. Hello, Beverly, who says here on Boudicca's Mound. Amazing. I've never heard of Boudicca's Mound. It's a mound, but yeah, I hadn't either. I think mound and mount might be connected etymologically. I don't know, but yeah, what it's I'm surprised I haven't. By the way, I am planning a trip to Birmingham to the McDonald's I talked about. That's coming up maybe in a month or so. Beverly says on Oxford Canal, love Oxford. Thanks, Beverly. Thanks very much. And you, welcome, by the way. I haven't seen you before, so welcome. Boudicca's Mound. Sam Rowbottom, or Rowbotham, says here. Boudicca's obelisk is within walking distance from where I live, and legend as it that's where she died after putting up fierce resistance against the Romans. Oh, really? Where's that, Sam? I mean, I imagine if it's realistic, it has to be probably in the West Midlands or somewhere up, probably somewhere in the West Midlands. But let me know where that is, because I'd love to see it. And Boudica's Mound, Nihilist Lives Matter says, Ben is remarkably knowledgeable about dogging locations. Ooh, and how is that? Yes, indeed, says 69 Foucault. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can make your own mind up about why that might be. And Cat of Joy says, I'm waiting for his knowledge on catting locations, where to find the best cats, and what time to see them, etc. I think this is equivalent of Robert Anton Wilson's, Catma. The dogma, and then there's the Catma. Yeah. Boudica's Mound, Ralph Winter says, nice one, Ben. Wonderful vid. Thanks, Ralph. Thanks very much. And what we have here, Steve Polish, who says here, quote, I'm not going to this is on 125. I say, I will not prefix anything with, in my opinion. I'm going to assume that is obvious in the context of the greater structure of my sentences and my text and my words. Yeah, because that's the point I made to David Smith when he said, well, why don't you keep saying allegedly all the time? You should be saying allegedly all the time. But Steve is not having any of it. That doesn't get you a free pass after the fact, Ben. Oh, is it right? Doesn't it? Quote, see, there was a Haunebu anti-gravity spacecraft built by the Nazis in their secret laboratories. Very Indiana Jones, but it's true. There's so much evidence for it. Yeah. An opinion is a view on something which is not necessarily based on fact. The above is spoken as an assertion and is qualified as factual by your use of the phrase it's true, which it isn't. Yes, it is. That's you blowing the subject out of all proportion and misrepresenting facts, leading to the assumption that you're knowingly lying. Well, why don't you read Joseph Farrell and his work about it? Read Nick Cook. Once you look up Igor Witkowski and what he's discovered, I gave you a bloody reference to it. Between Tino Stuckman and Igor Witkowski, there was a strange claim and anecdotes, odd concrete constructions and tunnels yet to be found. Well, not all of them. Some of them have been found. But nothing indicating what you claim. Cables in the ground isn't evidence of an anti-gravity device, and finding such cables wouldn't be too surprising given they're between a power station and wartime mining operations. Well, they would be if they're actually absolutely directly underneath the actual fly trap in a circle, and they're not actually connected to said mining operations. That is the Wenceslas mine. The so-called henge is seen in wartime aerial photos. Yeah, they were building it. It's a bit odd that we know major secret aero engineering by the Germans went on below ground in huge bunkers, but a relatively small hovering machine and an alleged key test rig for it is out in the open in plain sight. Stuckman shows images of the henge bases filled with water, and Witkowski found what looks like an original pair of warning on the columns saying that swimming was forbidden. Whatever the henge was, it was likely unfinished. It shows no significant fixtures or fittings, no rust staining, unlike countless tunnels nearby, attempts to collapse or destroy it. Well, there was no need because it was not really very revealing. And what's more, you say there was nothing built onto it. It was simply used essentially as rather like the it's rather like the cables they test aircraft on. They sometimes have cables on a drone, for example, when they're testing it, so they can pull it down if they need to. That's what Nick Cook was talking about in The Hunt for Zero Point and the two documentaries he made as a result. So, I mean, I've not heard of this guy Tino Stuckman, and I'll look into him. But what Witkowski's discovered, I think he's very different, and I think there is evidence for that. All the Allies attempted a flying disc. The Russian AKIP, Canada, US's Avro car, oh, blimey. Germany's and BMW's Habermol all failed. This alone suggests that the most significant knowledge the Germans had was in the rocketry and jet propulsion, which went to the USA and USSR. What you're referring to here is essentially, I forgot the technical term for it, but it's in that big book about Rendlesham, where they use a vertical jet engine to generate lift. And of course, the Avro car only got like about a foot off the ground. There's videos of it. There's no credible evidence that Germans had anything more exotic in 1945 than jet propulsion. Wonder weapon projects were seen in the immediate post-war period and predominantly domestic propaganda. Most were nothing more than the crackpot death throes of the same ideology which pursued mysticism, Atlantis, pagan philosophy, and any pseudosciences they could pretend was wholly Germanic as an alternative to anything Jewish and Einsteinian. Well, yeah, we know about like they burned Einstein's books and stuff like that. They were, the Nazis were like, they were completely willing to shut off entire areas of knowledge which had been built over centuries because of their ideology. We know that. But at the same time, Sylvia Ortiz was channeling these beings, I believe, and there was also in 1936 there was a crash retrieval in the Black Forest. There was also the event in Italy, in the was it called the one that about the Roberto Pinotti writes about the fascist UFO files. That was a few years earlier, but that Mussolini shared that knowledge with the Nazis, and which meant, and then when you add in what Wojtkowski's discovered, it does seem they were built. And there's also the U-boat with the Mercury and stuff like that. There's a big long list that suggests they were trying to build something that was based on exotic propulsion systems. And the reason we don't know about it, and we haven't seen photos of it from the Allies, is because the Allies, when they realized this was going on, were very keen to sequester the technology without making it public, which indeed they did. The Kecksburg incident was one of these. Okay. All right. And now we have a comment about Apollo, which I will, as I said, cut and paste. It's by Steve Polish. I'm going to cut and paste it. Oops. Into my notes for the upcoming video, because I said I'm not addressing this subject in this particular video. Too many comments, lots of rhetoric, and I don't want to make this entire video about that. And there's more coming, I'll tell you. There's a lot more coming in there. And we have here David Smith, and oh yeah, don't forget, Ben, don't forget, get the timestamp back. I will. Yeah, I'm getting used to this. Who says, I actually admire your dedication by staying on the site of the alleged sighting. I don't know, it's a bit foolish, I think, David. When I was more of a believer, I spent many nights in woods and fields, going about in the early hours with lasers, radios, and moving quietly about, a bit like a bit of a loon. All I saw was shooting stars and wildlife, and one time in the summer, a confused farmer. Oh dear. Did he point his 18 fingers at you? And then Pentakin says, not in Pentuck, he didn't. And David says, nope. I had my own incident with witnesses. Conclusion, I don't know what it was. But you said it was an angry farmer or something, or a confused farmer. I think you said that. Pentuck says, were the military there? Did they set an ambush for it? Did they shoot it down? How close were you? Did it nearly kill you? Because it did me. Oh, you said here, shooting stars and wildlife and a confused farmer. Did the farmer nearly kill you? I think maybe I've lost something. Anyway, David says, watched your videos. I think you use too much conjecture and lack of information and evidence to prop up your own preconceived beliefs. What? The most interesting evidence, I think, is the radiation readings, but that in no way confirms a craft of any kind. It's one of those unknown things that could have many possible explanations. I think the vast majority of what you call evidence is just your interpretation of events and motives. A lot of aliens of the gaps fallacies going on. How much of them did you watch, David? Are you sure you've watched them? While I would love this to have actually happened, and I believe you think you're correct, I think you're mistaken. When you make the statements about interdimensional craft and being scanned with feelings of love, it's pretty obvious you're inserting your own beliefs about these things. Oh, come on, is that all you're going to focus on? If you want to convince skeptics, then just sticking to the facts that can be demonstrated would be best. Unfortunately, there's very little there to conclude the event was anything otherworldly. I don't. Can you go into more details about what you actually saw in these videos, David? I appreciate you put a lot of work into this, but I remain unconvinced. I wish you all the best, though. If any good evidence ever gets discovered, I will change my mind and I'll become a supporter. I'm not so sure about that, David. We'll see anyway. Like 125. This is where I Oh, I think this is all right. This is something again. I'm going to cut and paste out of here because it's by David. It's by Steve Polish. Oh, sorry, wrong notepad. This is the one I want. Oh no, where is it? Artemis 2 comments. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to prepare this. This is the notes from my future video, all about the Artemis 2 missions. Again, get back the timestamp, and I will indeed give Steve a reply here. Steve Polish a reply. Boudica's Mound, the Arts channel. Where was your Boudica moment speech like Braveheart? Oh, it was. There's several. I can only do, all I can do again is recommend. Believe it or not, I've got a portal here. Yes. it is a bit Braveheart-like. Here we go. There's loads of them on here. Every time I have a Boudica moment, they're here. This is a good video. I love this one. Where is it? Here we are. Well, I talk about Boudica being my only queen. Well, I love this.
Began in Atlantis. They held on to this country.
It's got little.
And then of course, then you get the plot which unfolds from the story. It's good.
Look, I've got the Holy Grail turning point.
Lord didn't do it because then it wouldn't be such a good story. It's a energy to give her a proper burial.
Here we are. It wasn't very good quality.
Put that in there like that.
It's from 2010.
Okay. Because Boudica is my queen.
Here we go.
She's the ancestor of the people of this country, the free people of this country, not just the Celtic people, like basically the Celts are the ancestors of the Welsh and the Scots.
No, I got that's wrong actually.
She's no queen of yours. Anunnaki reptilian.
Oh, this is the good bit. Here we go.
She's my only queen. Because I tell you something, right? That Anunnaki reptilian in Buckingham Palace is no queen of mine, and she's no queen of yours. She's no queen of anybody's.
Oh man, I must say I enjoyed making that video. It was worth it. I went all the way to Birmingham for that, and it was worth it. Oh, I love it. Yeah. So it was not quite up to Braveheart standards, but still pretty good. And we now have Steve mumbling. All right, so now we're going to again. I'll just make sure I've got all of the show more ones because some of them are quite. Here we go. Let's just again. I'm going to cut and paste this into here. Don't worry, guys. You're getting a reply to this. I know you think you won't, but you will. And again, get the timestamp, and you will get a reply. All of you will get your reply on my next Artemis 2 video. And loose ends. Okay, so we have here Dazzle Theory. Dazzle Theory says here, I didn't realize you. And this is quite a good comment actually, because he says here, put that over it. I didn't realize you had a YouTube channel until by random the algorithm recommended a video of yours, and I was like, what? What, really? And I actually put a text reply and said, seriously, maybe my shadow ban has been lifted. Good news. Thanks for letting me know. I mean, is that really true? That's on loose ends anyway. Right, Artemis 2 launch live stream. And David says here, I think your greenish t-shirt was interfering with the chroma key. And Cat of Joy says it's dishwater green. I'm not really. It was kind of like grey. I don't think it did any harm here. Okay, we've got a long thread here. Again, this is the kind of thing I'm going to cut and paste out of here. Show more replies. Bloody hell! How long is this thread? I'll just make sure I've got show all on all the comments because some of them are going to be very long. And so here we go. It's Dave Langston. Okay. I've not heard of Dave Langston anyway. I don't want to cut. Here we are. Read more. There we are. Read more. Read more. Okay, so I'll just go up a little bit and make sure I've got that whole thread. Whoops. It's Dave. I don't know if I had Dave Langston on here before. Anyway, there's Dave Langston. So copy. and paste special unformatted text. There we go. What's happened now? Hang on. Is that all right? Just checking. I've actually done. What happened there? It didn't work. Hang on a sec. Okay, I don't think it was on the clipboard. Hang on. Okay, copy. Right, that's copy. I wasn't on the clipboard. I'll just try it again now. Yeah, it was actually the reply to comment thing was on the clipboard. Okay, reply to comment and paste special. There we go. Right, that's it. Okay, just checking. Okay, get timestamp back. And I'll just, oh, here we go. Sir Dave Langston and everyone else who's responded in this thread, I will answer you in due course. Philip C says here, we have waited since 1969 for AI to hallucinate. Lol. Are you suggesting that this is done by AI? And then I don't think it is, but I'll go into that more detail on the future video. These are short comments, so I don't mind replying to them here. Philip says this will be followed as Adamski predicted. What did Adamski predict? I know the only thing about Adamski, he actually was on. What was he? He actually was a contact in the desert, as you know, which I've been to. It was inspired by George Adamski and George Van Tassel. Okay, so we have Stephen mumbling here. Again, I know what this is about, so I will copy and paste it. And they're going to go, you're not replying to my comments, Ben. Yes, I am. And you will find out when this video is uploaded. Well, I might even make it a live stream. I'm not sure. Probably be upload because there'll be more stuff in the comments. And of course, there'll be more stuff in the live comments, so it won't distract me. Boudica's Mound, and we have here Tony Worrell, who says here, Ben and Boudica. Ben and Boudica. The battle with the Romans is thought to be next to St. Albans. It definitely looks possible from what I've seen. Right, well, that's much closer to London, Tony. If so, then is there any site archaeological evidence, stuff like that? Because the best archaeological evidence does appear to be somewhere in the West Midlands, just outside Birmingham. But you never know. You never know. Tacitus is not that precise about it. The Cat of Joy has another question here on Artemis 2 launch live stream. Regarding the name Artemis, I'll be doing my usual Ben interrogation, but with a mythology theme. If you were a Greek god, which one would you be and why? Right. It'd have to be one of the ones without a small dick. Is there such one? I don't know. Maybe one of the centaurs. I don't know, because you can't say that about them. And I wouldn't mind having a horse's body. It'd be good having 4 legs. Which dog is more kick-ass, Anubis or Cerberus? Oh, Cerberus, definitely. I mean, 3 heads. Goodness me. That's really scary. Have you ever dated someone with a name from mythology? I don't think I have, no. I haven't, no. Names from mythology, like, well, unless you mean like the Bible. I don't know. Susan Pauline of Charlotte. I don't think so. Okay. Who would be your best mate, Odin or Osiris? Probably Odin, because Odin, first of all, was like, he's from this continent, so he's kind of part of the biospirit of Europe. Secondly, he was kind of like a wise person, whereas Osiris was more kind of like father god of the saviors and stuff like this. I mean, it's probably Odin. If Mary has 2 golden apples and Joan has 4, how many did Hesperides have? God, I don't know. All I know is that Eris rolled one into the Olympus, the golden apple of Eris, and caused chaos in Olympus among the gods. Hence, hail Eris, you know, Robert Anton Wilson. Robert Anton Wilson says that Eris is the god for creating all that chaos. And in the Illuminatus trilogy, the Eresians, the ELF, the Eurasian Liberation Front, or the Discordians, they have the golden apple as their symbol. On that note, on themes of apple, what goes best with apple pie? Ice cream, custard, or just cream? Ooh, custard, definitely. That's all for now. Okay, thanks, Cowjoy. Now we have here Brett Riverboat on Artemis 2 live stream, who says here, why don't they land? Okay, it's a short comment, but I'm going to cut and paste it into it's also by a believer, or not a believer, and the NASA doubter, but I'm going to cut and paste it into my little thing here. Okay, and now we have, who do we have now? Let's be all right. Oh, we got Over the Moon again, and again cut and paste into here. Okay. And whoops. Again, timestamp and reply. I'll just leave him. Still leave him a timestamp just to know that I've replied to him, even though it's a delayed reply. Boudica's Mound. Darren, Ben, for the love of God, please get yourself a gimbal. Well, the thing about gimbals is they're difficult to carry around, especially if you're going somewhere like this. It's difficult to carry them around. All right, it's not. If you're like traveling a long way. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, because I do you get vibration and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe I'll see if I can get one. Yeah, just see. I might do one. Just borrow one and see it as an experiment to see if it works. I can give it back or decide whether or not I want to buy it. Okay, there's another. I'm just doing another one of these. Oh, there's a whole load of them now. God, from Over the Moon. I knew there would be because I saw them earlier. Okay, so I'll just do a whole load of these replies, and then I'll actually. Oh, we got like a. I'll cut and paste these all as a single cut and paste. Actually, to save me time. You know, I think there are some people. I mean, I'm not Over the Moon specifically, but there are some people in the sort of skeptic world. They do things specifically, simply to use up your time. I mean, several trolls have done that. And I'm not talking about Over the Moon here, but there are several trolls have done this thing where they will just post loads and loads of meaningless sort of like points and questions and contentions just to use up your time. And with AI, these days, it's very easy to do that. Okay, and so now we have. Oh, I actually got into a text comment thing with somebody. And I took the bait when I shouldn't have, but Steve Mumbling wound me up. And I've known other people in the Apollo detectives have said this, that they've been doing this. They've been doing this on their own channels. And I said, I think what they're doing is they are literally, they're trying to provoke us now. They're trying to, because the whole Artemis 2 thing has kind of like caused a flare up in this whole issue. And as a result, there's a lot of flame. It's ignited a kind of flame war. And Steve is trying to do this to me right now. Okay, I've got a whole load more. Hang on, a whole load more here. We're at the end now. Okay, so what I'll do now is there's one more cut and paste here. Oops. Which I will do now. Well, what's happening now? It won't go. Hang on. Why won't it go? Hang on. Okay, I'll have to do it in two. Okay, I'll do it in two. All right, so paste special, unformatted text. Okay. And the last comment, which is actually the top of the list, posted 1 day ago, and I have sorted it about by newest. I'll do a refresh. Is another one by Over the Moon. So I'll just click paste special, unformatted text, and there we go. Okay, is that it? Right. Okay, so now I'll just post replies on those. I posted one here. Yes, I did. And there. And there's one here. It's all right. This is not really, I could edit this out really, but I don't want people saying that I'm being I'm like editing them or selectively replying, even though they're going to claim that anyway. Okay, so now what I'll do now is I'll go to my basic. How are we doing for time? Oh, we're 5 minutes to go before the end of the hour. So what I'll do now is I'll just go to I'll just go to my YouTube notifications and see what comments have been posted while I've been doing this. Oh, and there's TikTok as well. Got to check TikTok. All right. We've got 9 notifications. Let's have a look. Oh, Boudicca's Mound. Nothing as it seems said here. Oh, there's loads of stuff here. It's quite a long one. And who says here, an impromptu backside of the moon broadcast on HPANWO. Yeah, well, that's what's going on right now, but I'm not going to comment on it now because I basically want to get this out of the way. But I'll have a look. I'll look at the news when I've done this. Nothing as it seems says, do you know when the Dover Strait was formed? I'll give you a hint. They are our cousins, the Neanderthals, and the greatest flood the world has ever known. The original Brexit was perhaps witnessed by the Neanderthals. That might be where the flood myth originated. Yeah, originally the English Channel and North Sea didn't exist. They were like Doggerland, and what we now call the British Isles was a peninsula on the western half of Europe. It was actually a piece of quite nice real estate. Actually, they found they've like dredged up signs of all kinds of tools and things indicating lots of people were living there. And the Dover Strait formed again in around about 10,000 BC when the Ice Age ended and Britain and Ireland became the British Isles. Yeah. And the Neanderthals were not. Thing is, by then I think the Neanderthals were extinct. But are the Homo sapiens ancestors saw it? Definitely. Okay, let's have a look. Crying down. Is that it? I think that's all of it. We're going back 5 hours now. So yes, that's it. I'll just do like a refresh on the community page just in case something does appear there. You never know. Something might not even be in the notifications and might appear in the... Yep, no, it's only nothing as it seems comment. Great. So let's go to TikTok. TikTok, make your day. Let's have a look. Now, TikTok, I've had none at all last time. Nothing happened on TikTok at all. Rather strange, that, isn't it?
I've woken up this morning to the news of 4 astronauts jetting off into space, just like they did in the 60s.
Okay. I'll show you him. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why he suddenly appeared in my TikTok feed, but there he is. Here we go.
But they're not going to land on the moon this time. Oh, no, they're just going round it. All the while, there's a fucking fuel crisis going on, and I'm limited to how much diesel I put in my fucking...
Oh, my dear. I'm so sorry. I really am. Oh, dear. He's so camp, honestly. Yeah. That's our following.
Maybe you're waiting on a
All right, I've got these.
My brother's Gowra from Fronting.
Right, this is just what my followers uploaded. Let's have I got any more bloody bugger off? Have I got any more? I'm just interested to see because like my latest. I don't believe this. See, my latest TikTok video, which is Charlie Vitch comes to Oxford. Any resemblance is coincidental, of course. 267 views.
Hello.
I've had no comments on there. It's had 267 freaking views, right, for the last 4 months. Again, I mean, this just doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's TikTok done. Oh, that's TikTok done. We'll go one more refresh of YouTube and then we'll call it a night. Okay, good, no notifications. Right, that's it. Right, this is the end, and just inside the second hour. Thanks very much, everyone. Obviously, I really appreciate your comments and questions and all the comments you put on this video. Which, of course, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to reply to them, and there'd be no reply to comments videos, would there? So, thanks very much. And those of you trying to comment on TikTok or trying to watch TikTok, I don't know why you can't. And again, I've talked about how. Obviously, I'm having some kind of shadow ban on TikTok. But anyway, those are on YouTube. Thank you very much. Those on Alt Tech, please do go and watch the Alt Tech video if you haven't already. And I'll be uploading it actually before this one. But please don't go and check that. This particular video, this YouTube version, will be on all my platforms. But the TikTok annex will be exclusive to... Sorry, the TikTok... The Alt Tech annex will be exclusive to my Alt Tech sites, which doesn't include TikTok. But what's coming up? Well, the Mark Devlin, I've got to upload that. I've been sitting on it for 2 weeks and haven't edited it. I've got to upload that at some point. I'll be saying, I don't know if I'll be doing an Artemis thing this week. It depends if something happens or not. What I will be doing, I can promise you, is something about Artemis 2 when I get back from Weird Weekend North. Okay, and as I said, there probably won't be a Weird Weekend North video, but there will be an audio which I will play on HPANWO Radio. All right. So, thank you all of you for watching HPANWO TV. Again, no green screen. Apologies once again. Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.
Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids, psyops, saucers and black triangles, HPANWO.